Hey everybody, welcome back to Zach of All Trades. Tonight on the Zombie Jeep project, I'm going to be swapping over hopefully the last few small engine components. I will be then hooking up the wiring harness onto the newly re-collaborated engine, and hopefully, barring any big snags, there's a pretty good chance that I might be able to get this new engine stuffed back into the old Zombie Jeep. But before I do, I wanted to address a viewer comment from yesterday. Sean Matheny, I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing that right. If I'm mispronouncing it, I apologize. It's either Sean Matheny or Sean Matney. Left a comment and said, I really hope that you replaced that front seal on that transmission before you stuffed it all back together. Well, the reason why I wanted to address this was because possibly I wasn't really clear at the outset of this project just quite what I was building. And I didn't want my reply to come back with any unnecessary tone to it. So first things first, that is a fantastic suggestion, and I appreciate you pointing that out. It absolutely makes sense to have done that. The problem, as it were, with this project is that I'm trying to put this effectively free vehicle back on the road as a very, very temporary, maybe temporary is the wrong word, but an occasional car, and I'm trying to do it as on the cheap as I possibly can. Therefore, there are a pretty good handful of things that those of you who are in the know with auto mechanics are probably cringing or going to cringe about as you see them, and I'm aware of them. Things like spark plugs. Yeah, I'm gonna reuse spark plugs. I'm gonna pick whichever's the best set, either out of the donor engine or the failed engine. I'm gonna pick the best set of spark plugs, and I'm gonna reuse them. Rings. I really, by all rights, when I had this engine as far apart as I should have, I probably should have gone through and just given the cylinders a hone job and thrown some new rings in there. I didn't do it. There's something else I was thinking of that seems to have escaped me right now. So those things that you'll notice that I haven't done or I'm not going to do, I hope that those don't absolutely turn you off and cause you to never ever come back and watch any videos again. But it is what it is. I'm trying to make a cheap sort of beater get-around mobile for the occasions when I'm up north, kind of a stopgap for the occasions that we're up there until we actually move up there and have our good vehicle. So, Sean, thank you for that comment. Thank you for the suggestion. I didn't do it, but I'm aware that I should have. And so with that said, let's get on with the show. A few things that I have to swap over from the donor engine over to the new engine. This is kind of confusing because now I have the intake from the donor over here on the bad engine. Anyway, the stuff that I'm going to keep and that I'm going to use is the EGR valve, exhaust gas recirculation, some beautiful smog stuff, and this little, I have no idea really what this thing is, some little vacuum sort of gizmo. Also, I'm going to move this water neck thermostat housing over to here because it's far less scuzzy. That one's pretty nasty, and this one looks pretty good. And the last thing is I'm going to have to remove these motor mounts and move them back over here to the engine that I'm going to be putting in. Oh, I'm also going to see if I can come up with some methods of fixing some vacuum hose. Not fixing, but kind of replacing some broken vacuum hoses. I think between the two engines I've got enough spare vacuum line to fix this cracked one. It seems like there's another cracked one over here somewhere.
next task at hand here is I need to pull this fan off in order to make the installation much less cumbersome. I'm not sure how you're supposed to do it. There are some holes in the front of this pulley, but I couldn't seem to find any place where that lined up with that so I could put a pin through there or something. So I don't have a big old strap wrench that would fit like I feel like I need it to. So I'm going to see if I can improvise and sort of make a strap wrench out of a strap and a pair of vice grips here. I'm going to call it a pretty high likelihood that I'm going to injure my strap, but I'm going to give it a shot anyway. Alright, feels like it kind of wants to hold. See if it will hold enough. Get the jaws of life on it here. Well, that's not going to work. I don't really have a plan B. What am I supposed to do? So I pulled off a piece of MacGyvery with this steel bar. It's got a couple of holes in it. So I engaged that bolt into one of these holes, and then without even drilling a hole in the bar, I just put another bolt into another one of the holes, so that held it nice and firm right there while I got on it with the big old pliers. And I now have my fan loose. Incidentally, can anyone tell me why, I'm asking this genuinely, can anyone tell me why the fan blades on a car fan are not symmetrical? I've always wondered why there's that wonky spot, and I do not know why. If you're out there and you know why, please chime in. Let me know in the comments why these fans are not symmetrical. That'll go in much nicer. I have a little thinking ahead trick to show you. Here's the exhaust manifold, and by the time that I get it into the vehicle, reaching the top side of these flanges here is not going to be impossible. It's going to be absolutely impossible. And that's why they designed the nuts that go on there with this little tab, so that it's kind of an anti-rotation tab. You get the bolt up through there and you tighten it. Well, I guess I've got it the wrong way. You tighten it, and as you're tightening it, it cannot move, so then you tighten it down. But what happens when you stuff that bolt up through there from the bottom and you hit it wrong and that thing falls off?
Down through the millennia, lots and lots of bad words, really bad words, have been screamed because of things like this. So, what's the best thing to do to avoid it? I don't know if this is the best thing, but it's what I'm going to do in hopes that I can avoid it. I'm going to take some of my Right Stuff Gasket Maker, and I'm going to put it on the flat surface, on the bottom surface of this nut. It doesn't need to be heat resistant. In fact, it'll probably burn off and stink at some point down the road. All it needs to do is hold this thing on there so that I can bump it a few times and not have it fall off. So I can bump it those 3 times that I need to before I get the thread started and everybody's happy. So I'm going to go ahead and do that to all 4 of them. It's not going to take much, which is cool because I don't seem to have much. Just going to kind of glue it on there. That's all I need it for. There we go. That's how much I put on there. And now, hopefully I won't have to scream blue words for accidentally knocking that nut off.
Well, boys and girls, the time has arrived. I've got it as put together as I'm going to. And now, it's time to put it back in the heart of the beast. I have cleaned up my area, at least a little bit. As much as you can think ahead when you're doing this kind of stuff, the more better it's going to be. If you have little pieces of dirt and plastic and rocks and just cast off crap on the ground, when you're trying to push an engine on a stand with hard steel wheels, you're going to be disappointed at some point. So try to clean up around your area to prevent stuff like that. Okay, Zombie Jeep, let's get you fixed up. I should also mention that I've gone ahead and filled up, topped off, I guess, the cylinder on my engine hoist hydraulic pump, because it leaked quite a bit throughout this whole process. And as I mentioned before, if it's not full, chances are pretty good you'll run out of throw and not be able to lift your engine as high as you need to. And having an engine 9/10 of the way lifted is a bad time to figure out that it ain't gonna go all the way up. I'm sure in a perfect shop they have their place, but steel wheels, ugh, especially when you have a shop like mine with a crack in a bad spot. Evidently my camera got tired of watching, because after about an hour of all that same motion you just saw, that pushing and lowering and wiggling and pushing and lowering and wiggling, my camera quit watching. It turned off, and it failed to document the process of installing the motor mount bolts. But suffice to say, they were installed. There was no fancy special technique used, save for a bunch of wiggling around and jacking it up and lowering it down and such. So that's it. Well, not it, but the engine is in. It's in the Jeep, and so that means that there's a fair likelihood that the next episode of this Zombie Jeep saga just might be the last one. So, check back soon. Hopefully tomorrow I'll have another one up, and maybe it'll be the last one. Thanks for watching, guys. We'll see you again soon.